Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show and radio talk show where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 2 p.m. on the Eastern time zone. As I get to ride home with you in the afternoon, you can find us on television, syndicated on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. And we are new to the radio, so you can find us on they are a powerhouse country station. And I'm going to tell you, I think they are. I love the old stuff. It's WZLA to 92.9 FM right here in Abbeville, South Carolina. And I got Jody Powell with me. And I'm just telling, we brag about South Carolina all the time, don't we, Jody?
We do. I love South Carolina, and I love Abbeville, and WZLA is a great country station. Anytime I'm going through Abbeville, I'm flipping it over to 92.9, listening to some really good old-fashioned country. And they are a power country station for sure.
They sure are. Jody is a wrestling commentator, and I'm enthused. I love to listen to other people talk. Commentators. What does a wrestling commentator do?
It's different than any kind of sport commentator, because there are a lot of things that are happening that are supposed to happen in the competition. And as a commentator, I think as you think about baseball, football, basketball, you're reacting to a lot of things that just happen, and you are telling a story, which is really powerful. But in wrestling, you kind of know what's supposed to happen, and you need to tell the story, not only the story of what's happening in the ring, but a little bit of the backstory that goes into that to build that drama, to build that soap opera quality story. I think wrestling commentators, there are two places I think wrestling fans get their stories from: what happens inside the ring with the professional wrestlers, with what they're doing in the ring as they compete. But then you need someone telling the fans not only what's happening, but why it's happening, what the backstory is, why this guy's a good guy and why this guy's a bad guy, and what's happened in the past. And it really is narration of a really dramatic soap opera.
Well, I am an Auburn football fan. My husband is an Alabama football fan, and that's another story. Ooh, it hurts. I got to tell you this, Jody. People come and listen to us do seminars on how to have a wonderful marriage, except for that 1 week of the year.
1 week of the year. I understand it, because I'm a Clemson fan, and my family, my wife graduated from Clemson, so it's not our house that's divided, but my entire family are South Carolina Gamecock fans. So we love each other until the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and then it's not pleasant.
That's where we are. But I said that to say this: the commentators didn't know what to say about Auburn's game this past week. Did you watch that game?
I did see that. I can tell you what this commentator would say about it is that, in terms of, you think about it in terms of wrestling, and everybody wants to know, well, how come the referee didn't see that? How could that referee not see that ball was past the goal line and they called it a fumble? Are you kidding me? That blew my mind. And then, boy, I tell you, it was, we'll just say the ball bounced Georgia's way, I guess. If the referee was bouncing the ball, it seemed to bounce Georgia's way.
Well, my Georgia fan friends are really letting me have it. So,
I'm sure.
So there you go. But anyway, commentating is, this is a world, isn't it? Because these guys were almost speechless when they were, because of that one play right there. And then the coach thought, they said he did a timeout, and he's going, I didn't do a timeout. And they did that. It was like, what happened? What's going on? What are going on?
You never know what's going to happen. And that one too, that was so funny, because you go back and see the replay. He is clearly calling a timeout, and he says, "No, I was just clapping. And come on, Kirby, let's not Pinocchio and let your nose grow there. We all know you were calling timeout, but hey, listen, if he was able to get over on the referees and get that timeout back, more power to him, I guess.
Yeah, but you got to do it right. And I'm an Auburn fan talking. So we got to do it right.
Yeah, it's so fun though to respond and react and to be able to. It's almost like, Donna, it's almost like improv. you have to be ready with whatever comes out of your mouth, but also filtering the things that come out of your mouth, because there are times, even if you're an impartial commentator, as most should be, unless you're, the voice of the Auburn Tigers or the voice of the Clemson Tigers, two great voices, by the way. But you really have to think about the ramifications of what you say, for you personally, for the broadcast, for the game, for the network that you're on. And so it's a lot more than just reacting to what happened, because we can react. We can say, oh, I can't believe that. That was a horrible call by the referees. Well, the next thing you know, you're getting a call from the conference saying, hey, this is the official SEC station. You're not supposed to say that on air.
That's right. There are consequences to what you say. You're absolutely right about that. And I think you and I both do improv. I mean, we've proved it with this show. And where you it just kind of rolls off and it just kind of happens. But then you also have to think of the benefit or not a benefit you say as well. So I mean, say things out of turn.
Yeah, it's just a matter of really thinking through not only what you're going to say, but how what you say is going to impact ultimately your personal brand. And that's what it comes down to. I love to speak about that. I do a lot of professional speaking as well with companies and at seminars and conferences about brand. Brand is something that I absolutely love. I love to talk about what prompts people to really have that loyalty to a brand. What is it what feeling are we evoking from people as we share about ourselves or about our company or about our product, whatever the case may be? And what is leading them to kind of have that loyalty and make those decisions for your brand? It's all about feeling. And so when as a commentator, when you think about your brand and your voice, you really have to think through the ramifications of everything that you say. Every time the mic is on, how many times have we heard presidents or politicians or whoever get caught saying something they wish they hadn't been caught saying because the mic was live? If you don't want to get caught saying it, then guess what the best thing to do is? Don't say it. Exactly. Keep the mouth closed if you don't want to say something that someone somewhere might pick up on. Because in this day and time, with technology, with iPhones, with cameras, with boosted microphones, I mean, I'm sitting here in my office with this microphone talking to you like you are sitting right next to me, and we're miles down the road from each other. So many things can happen. And you just have to really be mindful of what you're saying and what could be the consequences of what you're saying. Well,
I just got to say this. Okay, so the couple who were on a concert and they were having an affair, and I mean, for goodness sakes, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about with camera phones everywhere. Why would you not be surprised somebody's going to find you out?
It's just it baffles me, that one in particular. And those two went to the concert thinking, well, there's going to be 50,000 people here, however many people are there. No one's going to see us, no one's going to recognize us. And then all of a sudden they're on the big jumbotron, and I mean, it was an immediate recognition of, uh-oh, my life just blew up. And their reaction to it, Donna, I think fueled the viralness of those videos.
So too. I think if they had just stood still and just not done anything, it would have been better. But what made it so funny is he starts darting down and she does too. It's just like, if you
saw you, buddy. We saw you. Where are you going? Just stand there. And that's part of it too. That's the reaction that you have as things happen. How you respond, how you react could absolutely determine how everything goes for you. So,
but Jody, in a world where 50,000 people are there, probably 50,000 cameras, not counting the ones there at the event that are actually hosting the event, you still don't think you're going to get? I'm just telling you, my husband knows everybody. I know everybody. I would be found out about within 5 minutes. It wouldn't take long. They go on and send it to Phil. So I never saw the point to begin with.
Yeah, it was just bad decisions all the way around, starting with the fact that there was actually an affair going on. That's bad decision number one. Bad decision number two is to be out in public, be seen in public. If you're going to be the kind of person that's going to hide something like that, then hide it. You know, don't flaunt it around at a concert. And what was crazy, Donna, is that there were people from their company that were there. This wasn't just the two of them. So obviously there was some knowledge around the office that this was going on.
Well, the one chick that happened to be her friend who was standing right by her, she knew what was going on. And she almost had this look like, I'm glad you got caught. She almost said, maybe I've read her wrong, but I'm just telling you. I mean, my goodness. I mean, just living life is hard enough, but bringing it on yourself, it's just insane.
I have trouble remembering what I ate for breakfast this morning, let alone remembering trying to remember if I tell a fib and keeping up with it. That's too much work. There's one way to guarantee that you're not going to get caught in a lie, is not to tell one.
Don't do it.
So, just tell the truth. Just be honest, be truthful. If you're gonna, if you're gonna go off and do something like that, then don't, just come clean. Just come clean. There's no way to really log in your mind or even in your phone, which would be a bad idea as well, the number of lies that have to cover it up and the things that you have to keep up with there. And it's just easier to be honest and be truthful so that you don't have to worry about remembering what you said.
It's like you said, I forgot what I had for breakfast this morning. How am I supposed to remember anything else? So there you go. This reminds me, I am a huge I Love Lucy fan. And I can just about quote those. You remember the one where Lucy had been lying, and so trying to be nice, and it was just, and so they bet with her that she couldn't not tell a lie for 24 hours or something like that. So then she started telling the truth, and she's telling her friends, like, that dress does make you look fat, and then there's all these different things that are going on, and she said, that feels good. And then another woman was laughing kind of funny, and she said, I've been waiting on you to lay that egg for 10 years. The way she laughed. Funny.
Yeah, there's the truth, and then there's the brutal truth, right? Yeah. And it reminds me of the what was it, the Jim Carrey movie where he was the lawyer, Liar Liar, I think it was. He couldn't tell a lie for 24 hours, and I think there's a point where it's like, you kind of go back to the old, if you can't say anything nice, maybe you shouldn't say anything at all, versus, telling them, being brutally honest. But sometimes it's fun to sit with a box of popcorn and watch as somebody else is brutally honest to each other. It's a pretty good show. It's almost as good as a wrestling show.
It almost is. Okay, let's get back into commentating again. Are there times that you have to ad lib? Or are there times that you have to just
100%. In fact, most of what I do is ad-libbing. Now, when you get on into and you hear interviews with some of the guys that are doing this for a lot of the larger organizations, there are talking points that they will have. There are things that the company wants them to hit on. So, if you're in AEW or WWE and you're commentating, there are obviously things that they want to push and promote and sell, whether it's upcoming events or products or merch or whatever. But for me, doing commentary, mostly for independent wrestling, it is I have an advantage because for a lot of it, I'm actually writing the show, so I know what's going to happen, and I know the points that I want to have hit, and the reaction, the ad-libbing comes in actually calling the action in the ring. Because a lot of times and I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit on wrestling and how these matches come together. A lot of times a really good professional wrestler will do what they call calling it in the ring. And what that is that they're telling each other what the next spot is going to be in the ring. So, you have someone, you're grinding a headlock in, and you just lay down and you say, whip me into the ropes, shoulder tackle. And then that's what happens. And so I don't hear this. I don't know what's going on. So I am absolutely ad-libbing from the perspective of what's going to happen next in the ring. And so while I may have access and knowledge of ultimately what the outcome's going to be and can be prepared for that, what happens between the time they walk through the curtain to the time that match ends is completely unknown to me. And so it's all ad-lib. You have to have a really good ability to recall certain moves, the names of moves, what they impact, how they impact the opponent, what you want to sell to the audience, meaning that, you know, if they're really good workers in the ring, then they're going to tell the story. You have to be able to pick up on what that story is. You know, he was attacked 2 weeks ago and hit with a chair in the shoulder. He's had shoulder problems. So that's why they've got that arm bar and they're wrenching it in, and that shoulder is starting to deaden. It's going to cause him to lose strength in that arm, which is going to impact him throughout the rest of the match. So you have to be able to tell that story, put things together in a moment's notice, because a lot of what happens in the ring just happens.
That sounds like life.
It does.
I like to, people tell me that I think quick on my feet, and they'll say, how do you think so quick on your feet? And I'll say, well, let's see, I was a minister's daughter. That probably had a whole lot to do with it. My husband's dad's a minister. By the way, my son is a youth minister. So, I mean, maybe that had a little bit to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. People ask me how I think quick on my feet, and I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea.
I've done that too.
Yeah. And, you know,
quick. Yeah.
Sorry, say that again.
Having a brother and a sister help too.
Oh yeah, I've got an older brother. That helps. You know, being the youngest, being the baby of the family, had its perks and it had its disadvantages. You know, I was always the whiner, the baby. You know, I was always portrayed as the one that always got his way because he was mama's little boy and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, a lot of it was true. So those would be the perks that came with it. So you know, I
was the oldest, so I was the boss. I mean, you know, I wanted to rule the rest of them around by the nose and all this kind of stuff, you know. And then the baby was a lot like that. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, we are exactly what our stereotype is, and I will own it and admit it, and I don't apologize for it.
I'm a little boss too, so there you go. But yeah, those are things that. Okay, let me ask you, what have you done in your life as you were younger that brought you to this point to decide you wanted to be a commentator?
Well, I think a lot of things have really led me to this point, and a lot of things that I may not necessarily have intended to happen. You know, it's funny. I love the old saying that man makes a plan and God laughs, and God has laughed at me a lot. I made a lot of plans to do a lot of different things, but what really led me here are I think three things. Number one, I was a professional speaker first. That's where my love for just being in front of a crowd and talking and telling stories and really trying to be motivating for people so that they can walk away with something. I think it was Zig Ziglar that said his quote is one of my favorite quotes. I'm going to totally butcher it because again, not too quick on my feet, but he said that that motivation, that a lot of people say that motivation doesn't last, and they're exactly right. Neither does bathing. That's why we do it every day, right? And so you need to be motivated every single day. And so I found a first love of really trying to motivate people through public speaking, through sharing stories. And part of that was that I started a podcast. And in that podcast, what I love, really what motivates me are quotes. I love inspirational quotes. I talk, and so my podcast was called the Quotivation Podcast. And I talk about quotes and would have guests on and we would talk about their favorite quotes and whatnot. And that led me to having on an individual who was a former professional wrestler. And because I loved wrestling, I was a fan since I was 5. My grandmother got me started watching wrestling. And so I always thought it was just going to be useless knowledge. You know, I had a ton of wrestling knowledge, but I always thought, oh, that's useless. And I'm never going to use it. Well, again, I say that and God laughs because God had a very specific plan for me through that connection to be connected with the organization Wrestling for Christ, who I commentate for now. And it is such an amazing organization where it is professional wrestling, but it is also spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ and using wrestling to do that. And so I've been able to kind of step into that commentary role because of my love for motivating people and because of my love of public speaking. And I still do that. I still speak and still want to speak more. But that's what led me to kind of the wrestling commentator And I'm hoping being a commentator for wrestling leads me to a lot more, because while I love wrestling, for me, it's more than just the sport of wrestling. It's about sharing the gospel. It's about motivating people. It's about what I like to say, and from my podcast, I would say, helping people win their week. And that's what I want people to do. You know, a lot of people wait, you know, they go to bed on Sunday night and they have that terrible feeling in their stomach because they got to get up on a Monday. Mondays are terrible, blah, 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 blah. I want people to find a way to be motivated to win their week. And if I can help them do that, then I feel like that to me is success.
Yeah, absolutely. Was it Zig Ziglar who said only floss the teeth you want to keep?
I'm not sure that sounds like something Zig Ziglar would say. But it's very good advice.
Yeah, because you know the first thing you want to do, you're in a hurry, you're running late, whatever, and you use, I'll just floss the front teeth. I think about that every time I floss my teeth. Oh, I'm going to floss the whole bunch, okay?
Oh, yeah. I want to keep them all, please.
There you go. Yeah, but we're talking about things that led you to this point. And a lot of things, like you said before, a lot of things you're like, is that useless information? Why did I do that for? And now with what you're doing now, you can say, oh, I know now why I had to do that. Because it makes you stronger and it gives you that gift. It helps explode that gift.
It does. And what it's taught me is that there is absolutely no knowledge that is useless. You can absolutely use anything that you know. I don't care if it's you know, TV trivia or whatever. There is a way to use your knowledge to help better yourself or better someone else. And that's what I learned through this, because you know I would listen to wrestling commentators, some of the greats. Gordon Soley was an incredible wrestling commentator. Bob Caudle was. Today, Michael Cole, who is with WWE, has been there for 28 years, I think, and has missed like maybe 3 shows. Incredible work ethic. And these are just masterful storytellers who know how to take what's happening on screen, tell a story with it, and do so in a way that they don't become the show. Like the commentator should not be the show. Just like in a play, a narrator shouldn't be the star. It should be the actual actors. Just as in wrestling, it should be the wrestlers. The commentator is there to fill in the gaps of knowledge. And so that's kind of the way I kind of look at my life now. I don't necessarily want to be the star of someone's show. I want to fill in the knowledge and inspire someone else and let them shine.
Yeah, well, I like my show. I'm kind of like you are about this, okay? I'm not the star of the show. You are. It kind of takes a load off of me. I mean, well, yeah. There you go. But it's so interesting to find people like being a commentator right here. When I think of a commentator, when I think of you commentating in the world of wrestling, I'm thinking about how excited you are about what you do. and it brings excitement to other people. Think about the people who hate their jobs. And then they come to a wrestling match and you get them excited about what's going on in the room. That's to be commended.
It's fun. It's fun to really get people motivated and get them excited and get them cheering. And then, Donna, when you couple that with then sharing a message from the gospel, and it's incredible, because what happens is a lot of times, you know, we'll invite somebody to church and maybe I gotta wash my hair Sunday morning. I don't know, maybe not. Then you invite them to a wrestling show. Oh yeah, let's go. That's going to be fun. That's something I've never experienced before. Let's go see it. And we're able to provide them with a message while they're enjoying the show. That's how it works. And that's why it works. And so for me, it's more than just getting them excited about the wrestling that's going on. And that in and of itself is amazing and it's exciting. But it's also being able to see some of the light bulbs come on when that gospel is shared. And, you know, I've had the opportunity to share from the ring. I've seen others share from the ring. I'll never forget when I shared one time, and usually we'll have somebody share 5-10 minutes, and then we go to like an intermission, let people kind of get up, stretch their legs, because it's, you know, 2 hours sitting in a metal chair watching wrestling is a long time. So you can let them get up, stretch their legs. So I was able to share one night, and during intermission had someone come up to me and he said, listen, I just want to tell you that I came directly from the hospital in Charlotte. and my wife has stage 4 cancer. We've been in the hospital for about 2 weeks, and I had to get out of there. And I was just driving, and I happened to drive through Kings Mountain. I saw a poster for professional wrestling. I thought, well, that could get my mind off of this. And I came, and it's been a great show. And that particular night, I happened to share about my marriage and about my wife and about how we've been together 28 years and how God has kind of really guided that relationship. And he said, for the first time in months, I am not thinking about my wife dying. I am thinking about how my wife and I have lived a wonderful life together. And I just broke down. I mean, I'm a crier anyway, Donna. I'll cry at a commercial. It doesn't, that's just, I own it. And I don't apologize for it. But I did. I hugged his neck and said, man, I'm telling you, we're praying for your wife, but cherish those memories, because memories like that will allow them to live on. And those are the kind of moments that really, for me, make it powerful to speak or to commentate or to do whatever. It's a vessel. It's a vessel to touch someone's heart, and that's what's powerful.
Well, most everybody on earth, I know I'm one of them. I mean, you've got something that's bugging you in your life. I mean, there's something that's not going exactly your way. And
Right.
just to have time to get away from it, good, clean fun, which is what you guys do. Just to get away from it for a moment is huge.
It is. Everyone has a story. I believe that wholeheartedly, and I try to remember that, especially as I'm driving down the interstate and that person's cutting me off, and I'm not too happy about it. And my wife is good for me for my road rage, because she'll look over. She said, I wonder if they're speeding off to the hospital to see a sick relative. And it's like, stop doing that. I want to be mad at them. No. But you just never know what people are going through. And we mask things so easily. I mask things very easily. We all have this veneer that we put on, this stylistic veneer that's this facade, and it's always a smile or it's always a nod. And it's not that it's not genuine, but it is to say that sometimes that veneer will be covering up something that's going on in your life that is just really difficult and hard. And one of the things that I'm passionate about is speaking up. It is for people who are facing that to stop telling people that they're fine, and to actually share with someone. When someone says, "How are you doing?" Share with them how you're really doing. Because I think suffering in silence is an epidemic in our society, especially among men. Men's mental health is probably the most underserved, underappreciated health aspect in America.
I agree with you. You know what? We've got to go into a commercial break. Can you believe 30 minutes is just flown by? We're going to be right back in just a minute. Everybody hang in there, okay?
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community. Whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need, toys at Christmas, or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show where truth matters, even if it does hurt. But thank you again so much for watching. Continue sending email. I love them. I'm just telling you what, a lady sent an email one day and she said, I don't want to be bothering you. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm bothered if you don't send one. Continue sending email, Donna@donnasedge.com, Donna@donnasedge.com. I promise I'll get to every single one of them. And I always check the spam because for some reason, sometimes those really wonderful messages go into the spam folder. So I do check that out. So again, thank you so much. I've got Jody Powell with me right now. Let me ask you a question. And not on the level you do it, but is everybody a commentator of some sort?
I'd like to think so. I think that's a very good observation, Donna. We like I said earlier, we all have a story, and we also all have a brand, and so everyone should be a commentator of what their story, what they want their story to be, and what they want their brand to be. And people ask me, especially when I'm at conferences and I'm speaking about brand, people will ask me all the time about their personal brand and how they can build their brand. Right, that's the big thing. I want to build a personal brand, and my first question is, well, how do you want people to feel about you? And I get these blank deer in the headlights looks that I'd never thought about how I want people to feel about me. And sometimes people say, well, I don't really care how people feel about me. Well, guess what? That's your personal brand. Brand is nothing more than how someone feels about something, whether it's a product or a service or whatever it is. And we make buying decisions mostly based in feeling. Now we'll put together some logical pros and cons, and especially if you're kind of that C-type personality and you have to have your pros and cons list. But at the end of the day, you make a buying decision based on your feeling and how it makes you feel and how gut feeling, whatever it is. And then once you make that decision, you're bought in. I tell the story all the time when my oldest son picked his college that he was going to go to. And my oldest son, he is the most logical, down to earth, just so focused, and I don't know where he got it from, Donna. It didn't come from me. And my wife says it didn't come from her either, but he is so focused and really just has everything lined up. And so he had his list, he had his things he wanted. And then he came to us after going around visiting different colleges. He came to us and he said, I've decided where I wanted to go. And he told us where he wanted to go. And I knew that's where it was going to be because I saw him on the tour that we were on. And I said, well, son, I have to ask you, why did you choose this university that you want to go to? And I thought the answer was going to come from his list. Right. He had like 3 criteria, the dorms can't be sketchy and blah, blah, blah.
This must be that. Yeah,
exactly. That's just the way it was. But what he said to me was, it just felt like home. And that's why he decided to go there. And he made that decision based on that feeling. And then once he made that decision, we had to go to the bookstore and buy like 4 sweatshirts, 3 t-shirts, 2 hats, and a sign that put in our yard that says, we have the son that's going to this university. And so we make these decisions on feelings, And so if you want to build that brand, if you want people to feel a certain way about you, you have to be a commentator. You have to tell that story, and you have to do so not only with words, but through actions. I can say I want to be the greatest father in the world, but if I tell my two boys that I love them twice throughout 18 years of their life, that my actions don't follow that. And so it's not just telling the story. You almost kind of have to be a wrestler and commentator. You have to tell the story with your actions in the ring, and you tell a story with your voice and back that up and fill in the gaps.
My son had a list, almost like a list of his wife, the perfect wife, and what she's going to be. Number one, she had to cook.
Uh-oh.
Okay. She's got to look like Miss Universe.
Okay.
She has to act like a farm wife. I mean, it comes up with all these. Well, the only thing he got right on my daughter in love was she's beautiful. That's the only thing he got. She could not cook. It's more love to eat. I mean, he really does. And then she comes to me crying one day, and she said, "I'm not a good wife." And I said, "What did he do to you?" That's the kind of. Then she said, "Nothing." And I said, "What happened?" And she said, "I burned the macaroni and cheese." I mean, she's just going to pieces about this. And she said, "But Brad told me you were a great cook, and you're." And I said, "Hold it." I think I was born knowing how to cook. I had to burn the biscuits. I had to burn the macaroni and cheese. I had to do all this stuff. I said, "You're just going to have to make mistakes and just go for it." Yeah. You know, so sometimes the way we respond to people. And I've seen a lot of mother-in-laws drop that ball lots.
Oh, yes. It can be really a defining moment for a mother-in-law, how she handles that situation, and what that means for the next 30 years with your relationship with not only your daughter-in-law, but your son as well. And nothing worse than being caught between that rock and that hard place. You know, those are tough waters to navigate. I'm thankful that my mom and my wife have a great relationship. And but I've seen it before, and we have friends now that will say, you know, my son doesn't allow me to see my granddaughter because of my political views, and that we're on the outs. And I'm thinking, you know, these people up in Washington, D.C. have no thought or care about you and your family, and yet you're allowing what they're doing to split apart your family. It baffles me that the things that people argue over and the things that they in relationships over, and it's a sad commentary, no pun intended.
Well, a special note, I did grab my son by the collar and said, "Don't ever say that again." so anyway,
that's a good mama right there.
My daughter-in-law and I have the kind of relationship that she says, if something were to ever happen between Brad and me, I'm going to live with you. And I'll say, if he's ever that stupid, I mean, of course you're going to live with us. Yeah, but he would never. I mean, they have a great relationship, but part of it was the honesty thing.
Yeah.
And so, but he had been engaged twice before. He's got these big, pretty blue eyes and all this kind of stuff, you know. So he had been engaged twice before. So before they get married, he said, "Do you think I need to tell her?" And I said, "She's a woman. She's going to find out. And it's better she finds out from you." And so he said, "Well, I'm dreading this. This will call the whole wedding off." And I said, "You got to be honest with her, son." So he did. He he told her, and then he comes back. And I said, "Well, how did it go?" And she said, "Did Jesus forgive you?" And he said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, if Jesus can forgive you, I guess I can forgive you." So that's he got the cream of the crop. I'm just telling you, he got the good one right there.
Sounds
but
like
everybody's a commentator. So, you know, but honesty isn't part of it. And so I said all that. And so what you said about commentating and being honest about things, that's huge.
It is. And I think in life, when you're really being a commentator about yourself and about your brand, about what you want to be, it's okay to say things like, "I am striving to be this," because it leaves room for a little bit of grace, because we're not going to be perfect. Like you said, you know, you have to burn a few biscuits in order to learn to cook. Right. So that's true in anything in life. And so we can aspire to be great spouses and husbands and employees and bosses and whatever, but that doesn't mean that we are those things. And so we have to give ourselves a little bit of grace, and we have to ask for grace from others and forgiveness from others. I've had to do that many, many times throughout the course of my professional career. And it really comes down to the fact that none of us that are walking, we all have something. We have two things in common, Donna: taxes, and none of us are perfect. That's it.
Perfect. Don't get me started on the tax thing now. Don't start that.
We'll save that one for another show. But yeah, none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. My show on Abundant TV, Falls Count Anywhere, is a show about wrestling. It's Monday nights at 7:00 on Abundant TV. Get a little plug in there. But myself and Mike Buchanan, my good buddy, we talk about wrestling for the first 2/3 of the show. But the last segment of the show is called Finding Tomorrow, and it's about really how do we live in this broken world as Christians. And so much of living in a broken world right now is about forgiveness, and it's about grace, extending grace, and not expecting it from other people, but my philosophy has always been, if you give and you give and you give, ultimately you're going to get. But you don't give to get; you give to give, and that's what really extending grace is all about. It's not a quid pro quo. You're not expecting anything in return. But I named that show Falls Count Anywhere because, number one, there's a wrestling piece to that, right? There's a match where falls count anywhere. You can pin your opponent anywhere in the arena. But really, it comes from Romans 3:23, where it says we all fall short of the glory of God. And those falls count. They matter. But what's redeeming is the next verse, and it talks about how God redeems us from those falls. And while those falls count, what really counts is the forgiveness that we're given and the forgiveness that we give others when others fail us.
Some pastor yesterday church said that he went to a church to conduct a revival. And he said, it was great. I had to get that. The people were really nice and all this. They received him really well, but nobody was broken. And he said there was nobody, there were no sinners in the church.
Yeah.
And he said, I just wanted to say thank you for coming broken and for bringing broken people to this church, because that's what it's all about. And it sounds like that's what you guys are doing.
It is. Everybody that's with Wrestling for Christ has their own story. We all come from different backgrounds, different circumstances. We all face different battles. And while we're there to kind of spread the gospel and be a light for the community, and really and our mission is to have mission trips to the Philippines, and that's where our heart really is. We go every year. This past year, we saw over 3,000 professions of faith in the Philippines just from doing wrestling shows and helping with Bible camps and vacation Bible schools and those kind of things. And that's all wonderful. It's wonderful. But for me, what's really uplifting is that I get to spend some time with 12 to 15 guys at a show who are battling some of the same things I am, or who are facing some of the things that I have faced in my life. And we get to pray for one another. We get to lift each other up. I had an incident at the last show where I got a little sick before the show. And, typically with something like that happens, it's just like, oh, well, I hope you feel better. I had 5 guys come around, lay their hands on me, and we all prayed. They all prayed for my health. And it was funny. I was thinking as this was happening, if somebody walked in to see this, wrestlers aren't exactly the most gorgeous men on earth, right? They're big, brawny, muscular guys. And some of these guys have been up and down the road quite a bit. And I look like I've been, up and down the road a little bit myself. And so you have these just burly, big, brawny guys putting their hands on one guy. You think walking in, wonder what he did to get attacked by these 5 guys. But instead they had their hands on me. We were praying, and prayer works, because that night I was able to do all of the ring announcing, the commentary, help tear down the ring, everything. And I believe wholeheartedly that it was because my friends put their hands on me and prayed for me. And that's what we do. We lift each other up. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful community of men who just love one another. Just not to say that there aren't quarrels and problems and things like that. There are always going to be. We're human. It's broken. We're broken. But it's just nice to be able to know that I can count on people like that to not only go with me and share with others, but to minister to one another. It's powerful. It's a powerful thing to have in your life. If you don't have somebody in your life that's speaking true biblical gospel truth into your heart, man, find somebody. Send me an email. We can do that for one another. I never get tired of having friends who will speak truth into my life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the only friend you got.
Yeah,
somebody who will do that. And I think you do this, Jody. If you saw me walking toward the cliff, and I just kept walking while I was on my cell phone or whatever, not paying any attention, I think you would scream at me. And I would try. I don't want you to follow that. You're not a friend if you don't do that. I mean, right. That's the way it is. But I wanted to ask you about something else, because this is what I've run into the past few years. Okay, so before we moved here, we were going to Cowboy Church. And man, that church is totally misunderstood. I mean, relatives would say, "What do y'all do? Ride horses down?" I mean, shoot the gun instead of saying amen. That's kind of crazy stuff people say. And then I'd say, "No, it's a church." I mean, it's people, they're broken, they're not perfect. They're broken. I think people are looking for less perfect. I mean, we all should aim towards perfection. I'll never make it, but anyway, we should that should be a goal. I think, But some churches they're so perfect, just like our pastor said about the church he went to for the revival. They're so perfect that people who are not perfect like me are like, well, I'm not good enough to go there. So sometimes that happens. So when you can have something like what you guys have, and people can go, and you're still sharing the gospel, I mean, to me, that's icing on the cake.
Yeah, it is. And I always struggle when I think about and talk about, and I really don't like the word, but I'll say it anyway, the whole church trauma. People talk about they get church trauma from they've been hurt in church. The church hurt me and this kind of thing. And there are people that get offended by that. And they say, well, the church didn't hurt you. You caused something. Listen, if we are the church, then we are not perfect, and we're going to do things wrong. I mean, it's like it's like the Israelites wandering the desert for 40 years. They've just witnessed God separate the Red Sea. They've walked on the ocean floor across to dry land and walls of water on either side, and they get to the other side, and Moses goes away for a little bit. The next thing you know, they're worshiping idols. And you think, how can these people be so stupid? Well, guess what? A lot of that happens in a lot of churches today. And a lot of us, myself included, have been or are guilty of those things. We can get into a position in church where we're teaching Sunday school, or we're a deacon, or we're an elder, or whatever you want to call it. And we can get a little full of ourselves. We can allow those titles and those things to make it feel like that we have somehow arrived and that we are one of the 12 disciples. Well, guess what? Take a look at the 12 disciples. You talk about a band of merry broken men. I mean, they were the epitome of broken men, and so and remain humble. And I think that's that's one thing that our churches need to get back to teaching is humility, and what it means to be humble, and what it means to be humble in the way that we treat one another. Because, I have no position to judge the person that's walking in next to me because I saw them down at the Kroger's or the Food Lion buying a 12-pack of beer. I don't have a position to judge that person because I'm walking in with my own baggage. And all I can do is encourage that person, pray for that person, and hope that they can lay those things down just like I hope I can lay my things down when we're walking in the church or wherever we are. And so it's just a struggle for me to hear about those churches that, like you said, where everyone was perfect, nothing was wrong. Those are places that I would flee. I would never want my family to be a part of a church where everything seemed perfect, because those are the ones you really got to watch out for. I want to go to the cowboy church where everybody comes as they are, brings their stuff, tries to lay it down at the foot of the cross, sings their songs. If they want to raise their hands, if they want to sway back and forth, hey, I'm not going to stare. You do you, and I'm going to do me, and we're going to love the Lord together, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. The people who sometimes act like they're not judgmental are the ones who are. Yeah. And so Phil and I were about to get married. This was so funny. So this woman who is like the known gossip of the church, she walked up to me and said, I heard what you did Saturday night. Well, I'm not perfect, but I'm probably one of the most boring people God ever created. I mean, I like to read books. I'm just one of those kinds of people. You know, I'm the nerd. I was quietest in Who's Who in high school and all that stuff. So anyway, I went and I got a bench and I set it down, and I sat down on the bench and I said, tell me what I did, because I'm sure it's much more interesting than what I really did. So and the same woman one time said, I saw you and Phil at the grocery store after midnight. And I'm like, so? I mean, it could have been a bar. I mean, you know, but it was a grocery store. She saw us. So I was just like, and that's why a lot of people don't go.
Yeah.
I know. And then people, I mean, because there was time I didn't want to go back anymore. I'm just telling you. I mean, I'm like, that's enough. That's what this is all about. And so
it's frustrating.
I get it. I get why you don't go. I understand.
Yeah, and it's frustrating for someone who is wanting the lost to come to know the Lord, and then when they come, they're met with some of the most vile, mean people. And you know, I just want to ask them: Do you realize that you are now a roadblock for the Holy Spirit? And do you know what happens when the Holy Spirit runs into roadblock? They remove those roadblocks. And I don't want to be a roadblock being removed by the Holy Spirit. However God sees fit to remove them, that's how you get removed, because no one's going to thwart God's plan. God's plan is going to happen whether you participated in or not. And so I'd rather be a participant in God's plan than be someone trying to stop it, intentionally or unintentionally.
I'm laughing because we went to, Phil's dad was a minister, so we conducted revivals and all this kind of. We went to a church one time. A woman, we didn't know we were sitting in this woman's seat. I mean, you know, we'd never been there before. We were sitting there, and this woman walks up and she said, "You're in my seat." And I'm thinking, is this a joke? I mean, this woman just trying to be funny, like the Wendy Bagwell song or something. Yeah. So I just like, she's just trying to be funny. She was serious.
Yeah.
And here I am. I mean, I'm not meek and humble or anything. I need to be more humble. But anyway, I couldn't see the fight. So I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then I got up and we moved to another bench. But I mean, you know, unless you got your name on it and you bought it. I mean, and I've been to church.
Some of them do.
Names on them, and I would actually say, "Is it okay for us to sit in this one because I see his name on it? Just don't want to cause any trouble, you know."
Oh, listen, I have seen churches torn apart over things like a memorial pew, or my family bought the organ for this church, so I think I should have a say into the finance committee's decisions of whatever. And you know, you might be able to buy your way into some kind of position of authority in some churches, but you can't buy your way into heaven. There's no pipe organ you can donate to a church that's going to get you into heaven. So the point of trying to leverage that in some way to boost yourself in your church I think is just ridiculous and almost funny. If it didn't keep people from coming to church, which is just one of my pet peeves, it's almost funny.
You want to see me walk fast? Let them start wanting to know about the color carpet you want that they're going to replace. I'll run the other way. And we went to this one guy's church, and he said, "You notice something about the church?" I mean, they just built this church. He's one of my friends. And he said, "You know something about the church?" And I said, yeah, what's it all the different color? I mean, it was like carpet in squares, and there was like a million different colors. And I said, yeah, what's the carpet? And he said, that way nobody gets mad about the color of the carpet.
Wow. Yeah. The carpet looks like the Jacob's coat of many colors. I tell you, it's those kind of things.
Pastors have to spend so much time trying to keep stuff like that from happening that they can't pastor the church.
Yeah, and it's a shame because there are so many good pastors who, and you know, and I'm gonna say this. I'll probably get in trouble for saying it. I'm gonna say it anyway. There's a difference between a preacher and a pastor. A preacher may be able to bring the word and is a great orator and a great theologian, but if you are not involved in the family of your congregation, if you are not with them when their relatives are sick, or if you're not with them celebrating graduations or things like that, if you're not living life with your congregation, you are not a pastor. Pastors make the difference in churches. Preachers make the difference on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's time for a lot of people in a lot of churches and a lot of leaders in a lot of churches to get back to being pastors and not just, you know, speakers on a Sunday morning and then you don't see them until next Sunday. It's so much more, you know. First of all, I think the journey of faith starts at home, and it's my responsibility as an adult in this house to lead this family that I have been given responsibility for. But at the same time, it is the responsibility of that pastor to shepherd us through that. And that's not done from the pulpit on Sunday mornings. Not solely. And so there's an opportunity, I think, for churches to really get back to ministering and pastoring families. And that's what will bring people back into the church, whether you have those Betty gossips or not. Having a good pastor makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely does. And what you do is making a huge difference. I'm just telling you. I have a friend who sings gospel songs like that, and I had mentioned she had a song that I'm telling you, I loved that song. It was like rocking. I mean, it was just like said everything it needed to say. It had a great beat to it, whatever, and it was about people who get depressed, and you know, there's a better way, and all those things. And Christ is the way the whole works. And she wrote that song. It was a really good song. So I mentioned to her, I said, you know what? You need to get that record out. You need to get that song out to like all stations, not just gospel stations. She said, well, I'm not going to let any of my songs be played on a country station. And I said, I want you to think about it this way. I said, think about the person who hasn't darted a church door in years. They're at the bar and they're about to end their life. Mm-hmm. And they hear that song and it brings them out of it. She never really got it. But anyway, that was my point. And what you guys are doing, you're reaching the people who are not reached by churches.
Well, and that's the goal, Don. I mean, it really is. You have to think of different ways to reach different people, and you know, we get pushback too. You know, we get pushback from churches and from pastors, and some the pastors that speak at our events and support us are fantastic. But even some of them will get pushback from other preachers saying, "How you're going to get mixed up involved in that wrestling stuff? That's just, listen, wrestling is just a vessel. It's a vessel to spread the word, and it can be used for good or it can be used for evil. There are plenty of places, there are plenty of organizations that I don't want to be associated with because of the reputation they have for the environment they create. But there are plenty that create a fantastic family-friendly environment as well that I would love to be a part of. And so, you know, it's no different than a street preacher or a gospel quartet or whoever, whatever means that you have and talents that you've been given to go out and share, then use them to go out and share. And I think it's phenomenal that there are wrestling organizations that do that. I think it's phenomenal that there are sports organizations that do that. I think it's phenomenal that there are knitting groups that have Bible study. It doesn't matter. Whatever your talent is, if you're using it to share the gospel, then I'm praying for your success. Because ultimately, we all are charged with the Great Commission to share the word of Jesus Christ. And if I choose to do it through wrestling, don't tear me down because of that. Pray for me.
Well, I'm not tearing you down. I think it's a great Jody, thank you so much for being on the show with me. It's always a pleasure. We're going to have to go. Oh, I can't believe an hour flew by like that. And thank you guys so much for watching. You're the reason we do what we do. Continue sending emails. I love them. Donna at donnasedge.com. We'll see you next time around.